All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA props betting live stream. I have you guys covered here with this Tuesday slate. Today is going to be a tough day to break down just because there's going to be a lot of players that are coming in and out of lineups. So I think it's important to start with calling that out, guys. And we're already seeing that as the day has progressed. And so that's going to make really this week up until after the trade deadline and after the All-Star weekend a little bit more difficult. So wanted to call that out, guys. That is where we do see a little bit more variance at this time of year as well. So I think that's important to call out, and that's due to lineups shifting a bunch. Okay. And so like to start there with calling that out. With lineup shifting a lot, it does lead to a little bit of unpredictability, if you will. Let's see here. AO to the moon. Yeah. So we'll talk about Chicago here. That's part of it as well. So Chicago has like Josh Giddey out, Trey Jones out, and some other players that could potentially be out. Good morning. Interesting. It's past noon where I'm at, but we have you guys covered here. Let's start off with what I think is the best game here of the night to stack, and that's going to be looking at this Utah versus Indy game. So the reason why I like this game is, well, one, it's Utah. We typically do stack Utah a decent amount, as you guys hopefully know, but it's a high game total, close game. We are going to get a lot of players out in this game, but at least that's a lot of players that we have already seen be out a decent amount thus far this season. And so we're going to notice like Kyle Anderson out. Not too crazy there, but you got Yusuf Nurk out, and then you also have George out. And so with those players being out, I think that's going to create some value for like Isaiah Collier, assuming he gets the minutes. Lauri Markkanen potentially. And then Kyle as well. I don't hate him. Those are going to be some plays that we could be looking at. But I do like just the idea of stacking this game just in general. Okay, this feels like a very good game stacking opportunity. Then we go ahead and get into the Pacers, guys. It seems like Nembhard's going to sit. Yeah, so they're rested. So Siakam's out. And then Bennett Mathurin is also out as well. And so that does create a weird minute situation here, guys. So like these two are out. Furphy, Naismith are going to get some run here as well. But overall, like Walker for the Pacers is the player we want to be on the most. And then TJ McConnell is going to benefit a decent amount. So again, that furthers my point of how it is kind of more difficult to break down a slate like this, because the question typically isn't who we're going to be on or who we want to be on. It's just whether or not those props are going to be available for those players. So with that, guys, let's go ahead and just jump on into this slate or to this game. And so I want to start out with Collier. He's someone that we have bet on in a similar spot already this season. And I think the lines that we're getting for him are all a little bit too low. They're kind of surprising to me. So talking about his per 36 production, guys, per 36, we'll start with his PRA. So he sees 17 points per 36, guys. Okay. 4 rebounds and 10.7 assists per 36. Now, the issue is we only have projected for 29 minutes. That being said, I would argue this is still low, given the fact that I think he could actually end up getting more than that many minutes. Maybe not, probably 30, but with them being pretty thin, maybe that gets extended up. But at the very least, we're going to see him get to around 30 minutes. And in this good matchup that's supposed to stay close, to me, that's extremely appealing. I fully expect him to be able to have a good game. And so I don't mind his PRA. I don't mind betting on his over assist. Again, we see him average about 10.7 per 36. And again, he's going to get 29 to 30 minutes. Okay, so a little bit different there. Just looking at his average, he does average about 8.03, so not too crazy. Gets the over 52% of the time. But then when we adjust it for the per 36 production with everyone off, that becomes appealing. Did get the over against Indy the last time out, which is appealing there. Overall, I like the fantasy score the most. I got this earlier today at 29.5. And I will say I didn't really like the other bets I had placed with it. This is one that was just popping up on the board, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. That's a very appealing bet, and yeah, so it's went up a little bit here. To me, this is the best bet, just because you are kind of factoring in him getting a bunch of assists, maybe get some steals. He will get turnovers. I want to make that clear. He will get turnovers, so that's a little bit of a concern if he doesn't get any steals. So per 36, guys, he does average 1.3 steals and 3.5 turnovers. So that we're starting to get into the department of the turnovers outweighing the steals there. So that might be a little bit of a concern, but with the amount of assists that he gets, again, assists come for 1.5. I end up liking that bet the most. But really, all of his overs to me are a little bit too low. If you want to go with his over points and assists, I could see again to that one there as well. What I like about that bet specifically is when you combine his assist and his points, it comes out to 21.5. That doesn't always happen. And so that's another just route to go. Again, per 36 production is through the roof with all the players off the court, and he did get the over against the Pacers the last time out. Now, from there, guys, who else benefits? Well, actually, Walter Clayton is someone that can benefit on a per 36 production basis. We don't really know the minutes for him or just what to expect from him. Lauri Markkanen is someone that you could attach in a game stack, although his lines to me are basically correct. The only way you'd get to them is trying a game stack. Okay. And I don't mind that. You could. Again, this Pacers game is appealing. Whether you want to bet on his over fantasy score or his over points, you could potentially do that. But just know that his per 36 lines are already adjusted for the role that he's going to be in tonight. Another wrinkle is whether or not Kevin Love is actually going to be active in tonight's game. That doesn't really change too much. But for someone like Ace Bailey, who I'm kind of inclined to bet on, that would actually shift it a decent amount. Like Ace Bailey would become less of an option if Kevin Love is indeed active. And so a little bit of concern there. I don't hate his over 1.5 3-pointers made. Per 36, he does average about 3. Projected for 27 minutes. Again, they are spreading out the minutes, but I do think we are really getting a decent amount of value here. But again, I think a lot of this appeal in this game is going to be game stacking. And in a weird way, I wouldn't blame you guys if you just wanted to blindly bet on some of the overs here because, again, this game's appealing. So some of these lines have probably been updated or will be updated. Again, the two players we want to bet on the most for the Pacers, Walker and McConnell, guys. But Furphy is someone that should get a lot of run. Okay, so he's currently at 12 minutes. I expect this to be at right around 25. With all the players that are out. So this will be updating throughout the day. His per 36 production, guys, is about 16.5 points. So with Siakam, Nembhard, and Benedict Mathurin off the court, guys, he's one of the players that benefits the most on a per 36 basis in regards to his points. And in regards to players that are going to get minutes, he's the one that benefits the most. Okay. And so to me, that's the most appealing is probably just looking at his points. What's his points at? Let's take a peek. 7.5. And so his per 36 is closer to 16.5. Yeah, I really don't mind that idea. It's not a terrible idea to get to him in a game stack. Again, it's not going to look that good right now simply because the minutes aren't all that high right now, but that is someone that once the data picks up throughout the day, we can get to that. This is interesting. This has got to be updated by now, but 12.5 for his PRA and then 12.5 for his points and rebounds. Yeah, if that's still there, guys, by all means, that's a weird line that should never be happening. So, sorry, you'd want to get to his over PRA there. It's a very appealing bet. I mean, he doesn't get a lot of assists per 36. It's only 1. I understand the discrepancy there, but I mean, that's crazy if that one's still there. And then is there anyone else from the Pacers that we could be looking at? Again, Nembhard not going to be active. Aaron Naismith potentially, but it's a little bit of a guessing game. He does have a lot of usage with those players off the court, but his lines are already correct as is. I don't think we want to be betting on him. Again, Walker, McConnell are the two that we want to bet on the most. Other than that, a little bit thin. So again, we want to game stack this game. We just don't necessarily have the ability to do it just yet. Cody Williams is someone for Utah that should get some run. He's been something that we bet on in the past a decent amount as well, especially in spots like this. I wouldn't hate it if you're looking for to really extend a bet slip out to a 5 slip bet. He's someone I could include in there as well. So again, just be on the lookout for that, guys, as the day progresses. There'll be better bets, but for now, these are the two that I'm looking at. It's that day. Again, I'm doing this video. I do these videos typically as late as I can to avoid stuff like this. Oh, hey, these are the spots that we want to be to if they actually ever become available. It's annoying. On the flip side of that is I'm glad I didn't do an earlier video today because a lot of the situations have already changed throughout the day. So it's a balancing act, as I've mentioned a decent amount. We jump on into this Denver versus Detroit game. Let's see here. Jumping into some questions. So TJ McConnell out as well. Okay, wow. Okay, so Furphy becomes more appealing. I'm sure his lines are going to be updated. Good call out there. And then, Walker, guys, he's probably going to be the most appealing. Yeah, I don't trust Furphy either, but that's a good point, but that's just the spot. Okay. Yeah, they took Furphy out. That makes sense. His lines shouldn't bump too much, though. So if they adjust No way. So if they adjusted too much, I wouldn't go crazy with it, but I still think his lines probably won't be adjusted correctly. I'm seeing this. I was worried about this. As I'm recording this video, I gotta look this up. That'd be interesting. It is funny at this time of the year, guys. It's like, why is someone questionable? Are they getting traded? It's always funny. I gotta look that up. Not that I don't believe you. That'd just be weird. And Kyle Anderson as well. Wow. That's such a weird trade. What? So Grizzlies are trading Jaren Jackson Jr., John Concher, Jock Landale, Vince Williams to Utah for Walter Clayton, Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, Niang, and 3 first-round picks. What? 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 That's a weird trade. Like, what are they gonna do with Yusuf Nurk and Laurie Markkinen? Is Markkinen getting traded? That's weird. That's what I read that as. I mean, it is a weird trade, but Utah has a lot of assets, so I mean, it makes sense to try to do something. You're young, but I mean, you would have thought a guard. Well, I guess Clayton was traded. I was going to say you would think a guard would be traded, but I mean, that means Markkinen's got to be gone, right? Wow. I find that more weird for the Grizzlies, honestly. So that means Ja's probably getting traded. What I'm guessing. To be fair, Jackson's had a weird season this year. Like, the trade itself with the players involved is not shocking. It's just the 2 teams that were involved in the trade is what's shocking there. You think Ja's staying? Interesting. I mean, it is interesting. It is. You probably do want to wait it out with Ja by himself. You probably do want to wait it out with Ja just to see, the talent's there. Fascinating. All right, let's continue on, guys. But again, that's kind of the issue with today is stuff like that's going to be happening. So that does make it more difficult. Looking at Denver versus Detroit, I don't think we have to worry about a trade with these 2 teams, at least in regards to significant players. Maybe Denver upgrades elsewhere, but with Cameron Johnson, Braun, and Gordon being out, I don't think we're too worried about that. They're actually injured. Detroit, they don't really seem like buyers. They seem like they should stay the same. So that's good there. 4-point spread, 227 game total. This is one of the games that I didn't really like just initially looking at it. We'll see if that's updated. I did refresh this right before I did the live stream, so we'll take a peek here. Jaden Ivey. Yeah, I don't want to mess with Jaden Ivey, guys. It is appealing. I mean, obviously, plus if you bet, we should probably be betting on that if that's still there. Just at 16 projected minutes in a more difficult matchup, not as appealing. If you want to get to that, you can. I mean, it's a plus if bet. We should be taking that. This is kind of appealing. Jalen Duren for over 18.5 points and assists, 53% likely for that to hit. Have these 2 teams played? Denver played 30 minutes, had 14 points, 0 assists, so missed it there. I mean, I don't hate it. 53% likely we probably should begin to it in some capacity. Let's just sort it by best bets here. Jokic over 24 points. I don't know. It's a tough matchup. That's weird. I don't necessarily love that. I guess with him coming back from injury, you would expect him to start to get more minutes here. That's really what it is, a bet on his minutes being higher than what they've been. Same thing with his over rebounds. That's exactly what that bet is. Yeah, I don't want to mess with Bruce Brown's unders as well. Yeah, it's just these are all okay. Nothing spectacular here. So let's move on into another game here, guys. Obviously, a lot to break down. We'll jump into New York versus Washington. This is funny. Yeah, but do they have SGA on their roster right now? You know what I mean? Like, what's the plan here? Is Keontae George SGA right now? I doubt it. He's good. I like him, but maybe. I was looking it up the other day. Keontae George was actually listed taller than I thought he was. Yeah, he's 6'4", which shocked me. And I believe SGA is 6'6". Obviously, I'm not saying George is ever going to be MVP, but you get the logic there, right? Obviously, they had a piece that they believed in that they could potentially build around with all those first round picks. That's what the rumors were saying. But hey, you can't really trust the NBA rumors, especially all those rumor accounts. I hate bringing this up with the Giannis stuff, but it becomes so obvious as someone that's a Bucks fan. It's just like all the rumors are like could happen, might happen, speculation. And with all the dumb trades to Miami or Golden State, it's like the logic behind a lot of the trades is stupid. It's like, let's make this trade package that makes the Warriors in a worse spot than the Bucks for Giannis. Like that doesn't make sense. All right, let's trade some assets to Miami, but we're going to trade all the young players away that are also appealing that would keep this team good in the long term. So also going to be in a worse spot than Milwaukee. You're about the same spot as Milwaukee. It's just dumb. That's the whole trade deadline is fun, but also annoying. It's just like once the trade happens, let me know, that type of stuff. I have Giannis going to Milwaukee. I was going to make some sort of joke. I couldn't think of one, but it's Milwaukee. He's staying home, at least for the trade deadline. The only team that really makes sense to me for Giannis to go to is like Orlando, and there's no rumors about that, and so no, or like even the Sixers like Maxey. It's just the trades that are out there for Giannis just do not make any sense at all. I mean, the Jazz with Jackson should be. I mean, Markkanen maybe at the 3, Jackson at the 4, Yusuf Nurk at the 5. I mean, theoretically, that's not a terrible squad. I get it. Now that's going to suck for DF or prop spending purposes because we've been banking on that spot. But let's jump into this game, guys. Washington versus New York, 228 game total, 13-point spread. Okay, so the Knicks are heavy favorites in this game. We do know that Mitchell Robinson is out. That doesn't really change much for me here, especially with it being a blowout. It is going to be more difficult to figure out what to do here. And that's going to be part of the issue with Washington as well. Like Keyshawn George is someone I wanted to bet on. Then I looked at the game total. I'm like, we can't really trust the minutes to be there then as a result. He does get a little bit of a bump with Trey Johnson still being out. But yeah, even like Chris Middleton, we can't really trust the minutes to be there. Bob Carrington, we can't really trust it. So we'll touch on this one real quick as well, but not going to spend too much time on it. So these are the best bets that we're currently getting. And I don't mind this one for Chris Middleton for his under 18.5 PRA, just with it being, again, a 13-point spread. Don't love it. Now, the flip side of that is if this game does stay close, he's going to get more than 18 minutes, which is what he got in the last game. He's projected for 21. And again, if the game stays close, he's probably going to get closer to 26 minutes. And so he's someone I could actually see juicing up his lines. Like if you want to bet on him to get over, what has he had recently? 23. Yeah, if you want to bet on him to get over like 21.5 PRA, I don't hate that. But as like this line being a 50.7% chance for him to get under 18.5, I would probably agree with that. Like I think that makes sense. Will Riley, I don't think we really want to mess with. He has been someone that has gotten a little bit more run recently with them being banged up there. Yeah, to me that still seems like a spot where I would actually probably want to bet on the over. So I'm not going to mess with that. OG, he's been going off recently. It is a very good matchup. Last game against the Wizards, 24 as well. I don't want to mess with too much in this game. Just blowout risk. Don't love that. Chris Middleton likely to get a steal. This was the bet I wanted to get to, but with the blowout risk, it's not the best. Yeah, we'll move on to the next game, guys. We're going to have more games that are going to be more appealing than this. We got Atlanta versus Miami. So Miami is going to be without Powell here. Hero's still out. And Nika's still out for Atlanta. 240 game total. So very high scoring game, 3.5 point spread. So obviously that's a very appealing game. And so ideally we'd want to be potentially running out of game stack here. Jazz are never healthy. Memphis is never healthy. It is weird how there's some teams that are just like never healthy. Let's see this one. Instantly, my thought was no. Just with it, being a good matchup and a high scoring game. Yeah, I don't know if I like that. He's someone that's been extremely hot recently. Obviously, gets a great matchup. I shouldn't say a great matchup, but a very appealing game. I don't know if we necessarily are getting great lines for him. Let's take a peek at some of the Heat. So Mitchell's someone that I would say his lines are going to be correct. They might be adjusting a little bit with the Powell news that he's out. If they go a little bit higher than this, it's probably too high. But I would argue right now with this line, it's still too low. I'm actually going to pull that up here real quick. So I want to look at this team. It's Hawkes the most. I don't know if we're getting Hawkes lines yet. Hawkes benefits the most with them off the court. So looking at Hero and Powell off the court. Give me a second. So yeah, it's Hawkes, guys. Hawkes averages 21.6 points, 6.6 rebounds, 5.8 assists, 22% usage rate, and 39 fantasy points per 36. So again, I'm kind of assuming that his lines have risen as I've started this video. But I'm going to guess 34 maybe is what his fantasy score is. Even then, that I would argue that's still too low. So that's an interesting spot. After that, to me, it does become a little too thin with some of the spots. Like Larson has been someone that's been going off recently. If you want to ride the hot hand with him, I definitely get that. I don't mind that approach as well. I wish I could refresh this without losing some of the bets that we've already been on, just to see if it's updated. But yeah, Larson, guys, his per 36 production with those two players off the court is 18 points, 6 rebounds, 4.7 assists. So he's someone where the minutes could go up as well with him. 30 is pretty solid, though. And I could even see betting on his over fantasy score. Yeah. I was trying to decide which one I like more, the points and rebounds or the points and assists. To me, they kind of just go hand in hand. He averages one more rebound per 36. Let's talk about Bam as well. So Bam is someone that the last couple of games a little bit lackluster. I think a little bit of that was just due to the matchups with Chicago. Like you could do a direct line there. Oh, these last 3 matchups were against Chicago. And so if you look at that, then he becomes more appealing here. So his per 36 production, fantasy score-wise, is 42 fantasy points per 36 with them off the court. So nothing crazy there. His points line, geez, a little too high, I would say. At the same time, better matchup here. Still a high-scoring game. Averages 22 points per 36. I actually don't mind that. The flip side of this the argument would be he is kind of due for a poor game shooting, but you could also argue 6 for 11 for a big is pretty poor as well. And so maybe that did occur. Haven't faced Washington yet. So yeah, I'll put Hawkes in here. I'm assuming this has been bumped up, but put it in there right now. And then Fontecchio has been someone that's been getting some run, guys. Drew Smith. His mids have been a little bit weird. We're not getting any bets for him, but he's kind of been getting a lot of second quarter run and fourth quarter run. Honestly, has made me a little bit uncomfortable betting on him. And then Andrew Wiggins, just as an FYI, we'll just talk about him. So per 36 wise, he averages 18 points per 36, 5 rebounds per 36, and his fantasy score is about 35 fantasy points. So really, I'm looking at this, and sure, maybe as an extension of a game stack bet, you can get to that. But all in all, I think those lines are basically correct for him. Now, with Atlanta being mostly healthy, I don't want to mess with too much. Daniels is someone that I sound like a broken record here, but in a game stack, I don't mind getting to that. Nas been someone that's been mostly good recently. And so again, in a game stack, I actually do like that one. Let's see this last game against Miami. What did he do? 32 minutes, 6 for 14. So didn't necessarily shoot the basketball all too well in that game. Still ended up with 28 fantasy points. So if you give him another bucket or two, which I think is likely, then he probably does get the over. I like this one. I like that one a decent amount. Now I get to Larson for over his points and assists, if it's still there. Where I don't want to mess with where. Just are we even getting lines from? I don't want to mess with him just because we can't trust the minutes really with him. So yeah, just until we start to see his minutes consistently go up, we just stay away from him for now. We'll jump on into the next game. So yeah, we have some people talking about Michael Porter Jr. here, guys. For the Brooklyn Nets, this isn't a terrible game total. 22.5. Not too much of a blowout risk as well. 8.5 point spread. So that's interesting there. And we'll take a peek at MPJ. Start with his points. So I want to see. So someone was saying he always torches the Lakers. They haven't played this year. Interesting. The thing that I don't like about MPJ is too much of it is him betting on him to have a really good game or betting on him to have a really poor game. That's literally how to bet on MPJ. Is he going to be making buckets or not? We like directly see it. Like he's someone that you tease down or juice up. That's literally it. Not a terrible matchup for him. And I'm seeing, did the Pacers rule someone else out? Or is that just a continuation from earlier today? But yeah, I don't necessarily need to get to the MPJ line. So from there, guys, Hachimura over 10.5 assists. To me, it's a little thin. If you wanted to get to that one, you certainly could. I don't hate it. He's someone that in a blowout, I would think he would still get to around 29 minutes, which is what he's projected to get. These are all somewhat appealing to me. Like Claxton or Clowney over 3.5 rebounds. Hachimura still over his PRA. Don't hate that. Luke is also interesting here, guys. I kind of mentioned on the last slate that with Reeves being questionable, what's his status tonight? Yeah, still questionable. So if Reeves plays, this bet's not that good. I would probably actually want to be betting on the under. If Reeves sits, I actually think that given the matchup with the Brooklyn in a lower scoring game, probably think this is the correct line. In the previous game, it was like 50.1. Vegas was really expecting Reeves to play. And so I don't know if we want to mess with that. So yeah, we are getting props for Reeves as well. I mean, if Reeves plays 26 minutes, I mean, that's appealing. When he gets 26 minutes, he does average 27.8 points, rebounds, and assists. That's really just a guessing game. What are you playing these two games back? 15 and 22. So I think that's where that 26 projection is coming from. Probably closer to 22 minutes. So not terrible. Yeah, we'll get to this one here. The Bucks are kind of interesting here. No one wants to play. I mean, trades is what's happening. It's that time of year. I started the video off with calling that out, guys. It is a tough tougher day and week to break down prop bets with all the action going on. We can get a lot of value, but the flip side does happen a decent amount as well, where some players that we thought were going to be in a good spot end up being in a poor spot, maybe due to a game ended up being a blowout or whatnot. There's just a lot of variations that go into it. So it's definitely risk reward here this time of the year. We'll do this Boston game, then we'll get into that Chicago versus Milwaukee game. So we got Boston versus Dallas, guys. And Dallas is without PJ Washington. We'll see whether or not Russell and or Brandon Williams are out. If they end up sitting, that does create a lot of usage for Christie, even Flag a little bit. Marshall's already someone that I think the lines are a little bit too low on. And so we'll start with those Mavericks plays. And I want to start with Marshall. The thing that I don't like about Marshall is my favorite bet on him is for him to get over points. And it's a 51% chance for him to get under 16.5. So again, I understand that people are watching this for prize picks and underdogs. Some people are watching this for traditional sports books. I like the overbet for traditional sports books. On prize picks and underdog, I'd probably just staying away from this just because 51% for the underdog is pretty strong. But his per 36 production with PJ Washington and Anthony Davis off the court for that matter is 21 points per 36. We see he's projected to get 32. That obviously makes me like him a little bit more. Coming in off of a poor game, for the most part, he's been a consistent shooter as well. And so I actually don't mind that. You just expect him to have a better day shooting. The flip side of that, guys, is why did he have a poor game? Well, because it was a game against Houston. This matchup against Boston isn't necessarily a good matchup as well. So just that's a slight counter argument there. But overall, I still like his bets. So I'm going to put this on here, guys, but just know this will not be a bet that you would want to make on prize picks specifically. So are there any overbets that we could potentially target? I would argue that his points and rebounds is a little too high. I don't hate that Dave getting to his points and assists. He does average about 4 assists per 36, which is okay. The rebounds have been a little bit higher recently, although his rebounds per 36, guys, is about 6.7 rebounds per 36. But again, these have been a little bit higher recently. Maybe you get to that one instead. His fantasy score also a little too low. Per 36, he does average 38 fantasy points per 36. So not terrible. But I'm actually, we'll click in the points and rebounds there, 22. That being said, guys, Cooper Flag as well. I feel like we could potentially be in a spot to continue to ride the hot hand with him. His lines to me are all a little bit too low as well. So per 36 with PJ Washington and Anthony Davis off the court, he does average 24.6 points. He's been going off recently for the most part. His rebounds have been a little bit too low recently as well. The issue that I have here is he averages 8 rebounds per 36, which it's not like a massive edge in comparison to like his points. That being said, I think his points and rebounds, I'd rather just get to that. We're banking on the value to be there. Again, he averages about 4 more points per 36 and about 1 more rebound per 36 than what the lines are spinning out to us. You combine that, and that becomes appealing. This is a game that should stay close. I mean, it's only a 7-point spread. In a weird way, I kind of like the idea of stacking the Dallas players together rather than having them be individual bets. And then Max Christie, worth mentioning that he is someone that would benefit more if Brandon Williams and Russell are out. Okay. Now, Russell hasn't really been a factor at all, but I think if Williams were out, we could potentially see him get more run. Maybe not. That could just be completely wrong there as well. Christie's lines to me are correct, though. Little edge in his points. Averages about 15.5, but when you adjust it for the matchup, it's probably the correct spot. So Flag and Marshall are the 2 players I want to get to the most. What's interesting is like Daniel Gafford, another big. I feel like his lines are basically correct, but that's mostly just due to 26 minutes in a tougher matchup, not something I really want to chase. And then for Boston, you guys know the drill by now with Boston. I don't like messing with Boston too much just because it can be, it could be a White night, it could be a Pritchard night, it could be a Brown night, it could be, it's normally just those 3, but Simons can go off occasionally. These are the best bets that we're getting, guys. White over 5 assists, not terrible, but again, not a bet that I feel like we need to get to as well. Wow, I just got a follower on Twitch. Just Thank you. I've been live streamed to Twitch occasionally during these live streams, and wow, awesome. First follower on Twitch. I should give him an award. That's funny. You guys, I mean, that's wow. I just did that just for fun, just to see. Doesn't change anything. Interesting there. After that, guys, Sam Hauser, 4.5 rebounds. That we don't care about that. Caleb Williams don't care about that. I mean, probably like his over more if those two players were out as well. So let's try to get caught up. We're working on that. We're working on that right now. Yeah, that's right. That's a comment from Twitch as well. Awesome. Sweet. Yeah, we're working on that. So I'll show you the bets right now so far that we've got highlighted. So we got a few highlighted thus far. Some of these are more game stack bets. Again, the Atlanta versus Miami game is one that I like stacking a decent amount. And again, I just mentioned with Dallas, I kind of like the idea of pairing Marshall and Flag together. I'm actually going to take the Marshall 16.5 points off. Again, that's more of a traditional sportsbook bet that I like just because we're being told to bet on the under. The under has a 51% chance to hit. Do really like Duran. I like in that game stack as well. It's like right here's a tiny little game stack. You could toss in Larson there as well. And then I do like Collier over 31 fantasy score. That line to me is too low. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into that Bucks game. So we did have a question about Miles Turner and his rebounds, and trying to figure out what's going on with Miles Turner has been a headache. Like he's been playing a little bit better recently, but he's definitely been a disappointment. Having Bobby Portis questionable is interesting as well. Like if he sits, that should help out Turner in regards to his rebounds. Going against the Bulls, who are extremely thin as well. So Sarge is still out. Kevin Warter could end up sitting. You also have Jalen Smith, who could end up sitting as well. Let's actually take a peek at their projected minutes. So Warter expected to sit. Jalen Williams could play projected for 24 minutes, but obviously Josh Giddey's out, Trey Jones just out. So in a weird way, I like the idea of stacking this game as well. You look at it, lower game total. So I typically don't like to stack these lower game totals, but I do think there can be an edge with some of the backups. So 224 game total, close game, 3-point spread. And so let's start out with, I mean, it's no longer January, guys, so we're no longer getting the free squares. But let's start off with AO here. So right now, right now I had it pulled up with Josh Giddey and Trey Jones off the court, so I'll spit out the stats to you real quick. AO averages 38 fantasy points per 36 with those two players off the court, and he averages 22 points as well. And so I don't mind the idea of attacking his overs. I want to take a peek at it with Kevin Warter off the court as well. I don't know how many of you guys followed me for NBA DFS content or follow like Occupy Fantasy as well. I was on the live stream. I think it was on Sunday where a lot of the players were ruled out for the Bulls, and I was very excited to play Yuki, and he ended up having a decent game. It was kind of fun there for the Bulls. But AO, his production basically stays the same with Kevin Warter off the court. So definitely worth noting. I like his over fantasy score. We're being told to bet on the over as well, so I don't mind that. From there, we need to talk about Kobe White. Kobe White has been pretty, I would say, inconsistent. Not as good as really anyone would like recently. He does average about 8 assists per 36. Maybe that's the spot that you can get to. To me, that ends up being a little bit too thin. Modest as well. Again, I kind of like the idea of game stacking this game. Per 36, he does average about 4.8 assists per 36. I don't hate it. His usage definitely goes up. Those assists are up 2.6. I mean, that's the stat that jumps the most for him with all these players off the court. So I don't mind that. That's probably the one we want to get to the most, especially in the game stack. His 33 fantasy points to me seem correct, although he does average about 39 fantasy points per 36 with everyone off the court. But given the lower scoring game, I don't know if I necessarily need to target that one. And then Vooch. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Vooch ends up getting traded. The only one I want to target with Vooch is probably just his over fantasy score. He's kind of had the same issue that Bam did, where facing off against each other, He actually struggled in those 2 games. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to look at his last few games. And then he's also going to be without, again, Josh Giddey and them. So he's someone that should benefit from that. Overall, though, his stats do stay about the same with those players off the court. So kind of interesting there. And then I was just seeing if we're getting any bets for Jalen Smith or Patrick Williams. We're not. And so let's go ahead and get into that Miles Turner question. Are these all the ones we're getting for him right now? At least as I'm recording this. That's annoying. Let me try to pull it up on my end real quick. Okay, so we're starting to get some Turner bets as well. Just a lot of goblins. I don't know. Honestly, that's the answer. I don't know. To me, I'd rather like juice up his lines rather than anything else. Would kind of be the route I would want to go. Other than that, probably nothing too crazy. This must have been updating as we got the news that Bobby Portis could sit. So I'm just going to take a peek at Ryan Rollins here on Prize Picks as well. Jeez, 34.5 PRA. That's just due to the matchup here. That's high. That's extremely high. That's crazy. I don't know about that. Kyle Kuzma, if Portis sits, not as bad of a spot for him. I'd rather get to, geez, his fantasy score is high as well. So I don't know if we actually want to game stack this game, guys. It's not as appealing. Just they're jacking up the lines here for him, for everyone. So let's jump into this next game. We got OKC versus Orlando. I don't know. We're not going to spend too much time on this game, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things with the Twitch stuff. It's like, sure, if I can have one, sure, we'll do it. I obviously haven't really touched on it or posted it that much, but appreciate the follow. Lucky you, because yesterday was not a good day. The better day than going 2 for 6 yesterday. It was a little bit brutal there, but that was mostly due to the Sixers not doing all too well. Kelly Oubre almost got us over. Joel Embiid was trash. And then the early game, I was on the wrong players for the early game. Kind of knew that was part of the issue. But typically speaking, when that happens, we have a better day the next day. Obviously, that's just how that works. But Orlando versus OKC. I mean, I don't even know if we're getting any lines for this right now, at least on the board as I'm recording it, just with everyone being questionable. And it's just tough to break down because obviously if SGA sits, that really would help out Chet Holmgren really the most with how many players are already out. That would make the game closer for the Magic as well. So we're just going to filter by the best bets. So SGA over 4 rebounds against Orlando. That's interesting. Sure. We'll get to that. If he plays, sure. We have him for 34 minutes. We obviously like that. SGA over 6.5 assists. Also, I don't know. See, it's tough with SGA with his over assists and stuff like that because, again, with us not really knowing if everyone else is going to be good to go, to me, that becomes more difficult because then who are we trusting to make baskets for him? Isaiah Joe? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I like that. The other Jalen Williams, Wallace has been brutal recently. So we'll take a peek at this Bam one or Bane one. Don't love the over rebounds. Black has been someone that's been playing better recently. In the last game, guys, 30 minutes. Just kind of one of those games where nothing going. It is a more difficult matchup. I would probably agree that it is a 51% chance for the under to hit. I'll take a peek at Bane over points. I'll answer this question first, though. This is from a while ago. Apologies. Yeah, I like AO over points. I like his fantasy score a little bit more, though. But yeah, say you peek at Desmond Bain over his points. We'll say that wasn't one that initially popped when I was doing the research for today, but we'll take a peek. Is that what you're chasing? Just the recent production? Worth noting, it is a lower scoring game. 7-point spread. Guess I wouldn't hate that. What's he been doing fantasy score wise? Because that's an over bet. Um, about the same. Points and assists. Kind of like that one a little bit better. It really depends on where you're betting on. Obviously, prize space underdog. Better bet there. 22.5 or 22 over points and assists. A little bit better there. AO rebounds. Let's take a peek. Go back to that game real quick. He does average 5.4 rebounds per 36. I don't know. I think all the other bets are a little bit better. That being said, that could be a way of betting on him to not have a good day shooting. It's just betting on his over rebounds. And I don't mind his over 16.5. I also don't mind his over fantasy score. Both of those are appealing to me. Again, just to touch on him, per 36, he does average 21 points per 36 with Giddey, Trey Jones, and Kevin Horter off the court. Fantasy score is 38 fantasy points per 36. So I kind of just like betting on a player to have a good game or a bad game. That's why I tend to go with the fantasy score, especially with a spot like this where we're betting on someone to get an increase in their role. We'll jump on into the next game here, guys. How many? We have 2 games left. All right. So yeah, Embiid is expected to sit here tonight for the Sixers. So Drummond probably going to start. Paul George obviously still out, and so obviously I made Maxey the cover boy. We'll see if his line's updated from the start of the day, and then we also are looking at Curry being out, Kuminga being out, Butler being out, and Moses Moody also questionable, but he's probable. So we like that at least. That would have meant we were just betting on a lot of pods and Pat Spencer, which I wasn't exactly excited to do. Top pick for today. Let's see. Zoom back out to all the picks. It's taking a little bit to load. Apologies. Hopefully the internet's not glitching out right now. This is weird. There we go. Oh geez. I hope the internet's not too slow right now for the live stream because this is acting slow. Maybe I just have a little bit too many tabs open. See, it's tough to say like which is my favorite pick for today because right now I like a lot of stacks, and I know it's kind of a cop out, but like again, this Larson, AO, and Jaquez and Bam, like I like that. Sorry, not AO. The Larson, Jaquez, Bam stack. I like that. If I had to choose, it probably would be Collier. Just betting on him getting that the minutes that he is projected to get. Marshall as well. The only issue that I have with these two is like for like prize person underdog purposes is the data is telling us we only have like a 50.3% chance for those to hit, for the overs to hit. And so normally, obviously confidence wise, we'd want to chase a bet like this, SGA over 4 rebounds or Jalen Duren over points and assists. Now, personally, I don't like those ones as much as what the data is suggesting, although I do agree we should be targeting those. I like these two a little bit more. If these ones had a 53% likely to hit, then I'd be chasing those a little bit more. All right, so the difficult part of breaking down this game. Picks for the day, obviously, just touched on that. So I'll show you guys the bet of the day at the end of the video as well. The official final 9 to 5 bet of the day. So Barlow over 8.5 points. That's a little interesting coming in off of a good game last night. Actually, I don't hate that. What do we got? Oh, he only averages 13.8 points per 36, so maybe not a great bet. I'll start with Melton. Melton for the Warriors. So Melton was someone I think it was like 5 days ago. We had a similar spot like this where Curry was out, Butler was obviously still up, and the lines were strange for him. I think Moody was also projected to sit. Melton just dominates points wise with those players off the court, guys. And I believe I said to like Juice's lines up that we were getting. It's not the biggest sample size in here, which I don't like, but like per 36 wise, he averages 32 points per 36. Again, it's like a 100-minute sample, so it's not the best. But obviously, that's insane. His usage rate is like 35%, averages like 50 fantasy points per 36. So, like, his lines to me are all just a little too low, but I'd rather tease them. Assist wise, he does average 4 assists per 36. And heck, maybe we get lucky and Moody ends up sitting as well. And then that really shifts the usage towards Melton. I like doing his fantasy score a little bit more. I also don't mind his over points. Both of those are appealing to me. The issue is we're not really seeing his men's projection go up all that much, although his usage should still go up. And so I might just bet on his over fantasy score. Although it shouldn't matter. Ideally, this will not matter. Ideally, all of his overs will hit. But I do like to see this. They have him at 1.5 blocks and steals. And so we're at least going to get 3 points there from blocks and steals. He is someone that could turn over the basketball, though. Does do that as well, but that it should outweigh the turnovers. I don't know. The points is also appealing. I kind of just like the idea of juicing his over points, though. But he's someone I do like. Then we also have to talk about Pods. He does get the most minutes with all these players off the court. Points wise, he does average about 18.8 points per 36, but he's been brutal recently. I don't really want to bet on anything with him at all because like his production should go up. It should. That's fascinating. Wow. I did not realize this discrepancy here between his points. 15.5 points has not gotten the over recently. Then we look at his fantasy score. So he's been terrible shooting the basketball, right? He has not hit his over shooting it, but he's still been able to get his over fantasy score. Oh boy. Yeah, I guess we'll do this. Even though I literally just said I don't like his overs. So per 36, he does average 39 points per 36. 6.4 assists, 8.4 rebounds. Man. Because obviously this doesn't correlate, right? Not at all. You typically don't want to bet on over fantasy score when we're being also told to bet on under points. But I'm going to do it. Wow. Just the logic here for me is that he's due to shoot the basketball better. I mean, it's just been brutal. 4 for 13, 2 for 6, 1 for, what is that? 1 for 8. So you just expect him to shoot the basketball better. Interesting. What other Warriors players? So I like Melton already. I don't want to mess with Green. Santos is a little interesting here. Only projected for 13 minutes. I think there's a great chance he ends up getting more than that, guys. And so I really like his over fantasy score. Yeah, he gets the third most minutes with those players off the court, so I don't mind that. Yeah. I mean, that might be a little bit too much correlation here. Like, if we just take a peek at those 3 bets, this doesn't correlate. Apologies. Where like betting on Melton, Pods, and Santos to all really have good games, I would feel confident saying 2 of the 3 will get their overs and probably crush it. I don't know if you'd want to bet on all 3 of them. That'd be my only concern there. Let's jump into the Sixers. So yeah, Embiid likely to sit. Paul George obviously still out. Maxey is someone that the lines are Correct. Like per 36, he does average 30 points per 36. Fantasy score does average 49 fantasy points per 36, but he does have the highest usage rate. Is coming in off of a good game. Um, I won't blame if you guys want to chase his overs. Again, I just think the lines right now are correct. Again, they adjusted a little bit throughout the day. VJ Edgecombe, again, his lines are proper, is what I would say. I'm not enticed to really get to any of his overs, although it's a little edge. Like he does average 17 points per 36 with Embiid and Paul George off the court. Obviously, he's someone that really went off earlier in the year, but that was when Kelly Oubre was awful. Also off the court. He is someone that was a letdown for us last night. Barely missed getting his over fantasy score, but now his line's really bumped up in a lower scoring game. Don't exactly need to get to that. And they should all draw better matchups now, though, with how thin they are. The Warriors, that is. I was gonna say, like, if we're betting on 3 overs for the Warriors, we probably want to run it back in some capacity, but I don't think we need to do that. It feels like we're forcing it. All right, so we jump into the last game. Been a lot of weird trade speculation with the Trailblazers. Let's see. Yeah, I don't mind Moody. Just as an FYI, if you want to get to Moody instead of those other players, we could do that. I'm fine with that. College basketball. I'll show you real quick. Ran out this bet slip earlier in the day. It's all decent. People are gonna like Tucker the most if they look at his recent game log. They're gonna like that one the most, and then and Copeland as well. If you look at their game logs, that's been a little bit better. So if you're just looking for a 2-slip bet, it'd be those two. Can show you why. So Miles Bird, just a little bit too low. Don't necessarily love the fact that the projection data doesn't like the over. Tucker, at least the projection data and the average sportsbook line are telling us to bet the over. Carnban has been pretty annoying to bet on, so I could see if you guys didn't want to get there. And then Copeland, not as a high likelihood to hit, but 53% likelihood. Okay with that. 33.4 for the average sportsbook line. 33. Let's just round up to 34 for the projection. So that becomes a little bit more appealing to me when at least the projection and average sportsbook line is telling us to bet the over. So I do like that. Brooks. We'll talk about Brooks. So the biggest question mark is whether or not Jalen Green's going to be active. If Jalen Green's active, don't bet on Brooks. I don't like that. Oh, this is a trade that makes sense. Wow, I love that trade. That makes a lot of sense for both teams there. Wow, I like that. Oh, Kevin Orter traded as well. I like that trade. I think that's solid overall. Wait, so who did the Wolves get? Did the Timberwolves just get picks? I thought they were getting Ivy. What is that trade? Did the Timberwolves just get picks? That's weird. But yeah, just finishing this off, we can talk about some trades and stuff. Always fun there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get some random players listed out here for Portland. Denny Aldia being questionable and not expected to play is definitely interesting there, especially with Drew Holiday potentially sitting. Then Sharp and Kamara are very appealing. Very low game total. Worth calling that out, guys. 217.5. 3-point spread. 3.5. We'll take a peek at Brooks, though. So we'll just look at all of his overs that are being presented to us. Again, if Jalen Green's out, I don't hate the idea of betting on his overs. 7 for 20. Wow. 7 for 20. You're back to getting Dylan Brooks shooting a high volume like that. Good matchup. I don't hate it. So his over points and assists, 24.5. I mean, if dude's going to shoot the basketball 20 times, I don't mind that. So if Jalen Green gets ruled out, guys, I'm okay with that. Just with how much we can expect him to shoot, right? Let's call it. I do need to get a sample here of Portland real quick with Avdi off the court. So Kamara per 36 averages about 8.5 rebounds and assists. So probably agree with the 70 or 52% chance that Drew Holiday is the player where is he going to get 30 minutes? Is he actually going to get that? I have a tough time believing that. We haven't really, like, minutes wise, he's pretty low on the totem pole of games with Avdia off the court. But my goodness, if he does get a lot of run here with Avdia being off the court, this would just be a very terrible. It'd just be a bad line. Let's just put it that way. Per 36, he averages 22 points, 6 rebounds, 8.4 assists. We see when he does average, 30 minutes, he really crushes that. I could see him being limited minutes wise, but with him being a little thin, maybe he is forced to get more run. It's almost one where I'd want to juice it, but it's a close game. It's going to stay close. I don't low scoring game though. It's not perfect. Sharp will take a peek at him. Sharp does get the most minutes. Averages 34% usage rate with Avdi off the court, guys. About 26 points, only 3.4 assists. So we're probably better off just looking at his over points. 22.5 points is a little bit more appealing. It's not bad. What's his fantasy score? This has been off in comparison to, 33 for underdog. Don't hate that. An underdog, if you guys like that. After that, it's a little thin. Yeah, nothing for Caleb Love. So, okay spots here. So let's zoom back out. Give you guys the bet of the day here. Any good picks for Grayson? I'm not messing with Grayson. Again, I want to get news on Green if he's out or not. Then you could. Lately, I've been doing a lot more 6 slip bets lately, but a lot of the times I'm also doing game stacks. That's why I mentioned them. So a lot of 4 slip bets, 5 slip bets, sometimes 3 slip bets. So I do a lot of game stacks as well. Really just depends on the day, obviously. It depends on which bets we're getting. Are we getting college basketball bets? Are we getting NBA bets? So, like, if I'm betting on prize picks specifically here, it's obviously all about chasing bets that have the highest likelihood. But sometimes we're trying to get to some correlated bets as well. I always take the taco. If Reeves is active, it's not as appealing, I would say. Still, you would think he'd be able to get the over. But, I mean, you don't like that Reeves could play and it becomes less appealing. So let's just take a peek at a couple of these comments that we're getting as well. So again, I went with Pods for over his fantasy score. You're saying his over rebounds and assists. That's fine. Fine with that. And then Larson, yeah. I went with Larson for over his 16.5 points and assists as well. All right, so let's try to give you guys a 6 slip. I obviously highlight a bunch here. Give it a second to load. I had a feeling we'd begin some NBA trades today throughout the live stream. Why is Kobe White trending? Oh, he's not. Not really. Apologies. All right, so we'll show you guys the selected bets here. So I have a lot of players selected here, more than I typically would, but it is a bigger slate, and we are getting a lot of potential value due to a lot of players being in and out. So it is tough to break this down. I want to make that very clear. It's very tough to narrow it down to a 6 slip flex bet for prize picks purposes. Again, I think the best route to go, especially if you are betting on a taco, if you're doing it, maybe you could do a 5 slip bet or 6 slip bet. You could do these game stacks. They correlate. And so again, 4 is over fantasy score. And then you would attach these other bets with it. I think that ends up being a pretty good bet for that game stack. I think that's a good game stack bet. What was the other one? I wanted to game stack this game more. Furphy, as you guys mentioned, was taken off the board, so I don't know whether or not that's still there. I'm just going to take that off for now. Collier, I do really like, so he's going to be someone I try to get to. And then I did mention we were maybe getting some stats for the Bulls and Bucks, but they really bumped up the lines enough for the Bucks. I don't hate Modest to get over 2.5 assists. I see that more as part of a game stack, so we'll get that one off. And then I do really like the Warriors. I like the bets that we're getting for the Warriors. It's actually tough to to reduce it down. The issue that I'm having here, guys, is these are my 2 favorite bets today. But it is risky because again, the data is typically right. The sports books are typically right. Okay, that's where these are coming in from. And so the fact that they have a 50.3% chance that I typically don't like to include those in prize picks bet slips, like we would just be better off just going with these top 6, which I don't mind. I like these top 6, but I do see Nah as someone that's more of a game stack bet. Yeah, I don't necessarily see him as someone I want to bet individually. Although he's been good recently, like don't get me wrong there. Good matchup, high scoring game. That's why we're doing that. Take that off. Drew Holiday is very much a bet on the minutes being there. I do really like this with Denny Avdia being most likely out. I like that one. There's a chance he can sit, so I'll take him off as well. Just if he ends up sitting, obviously then don't want that. Bam. I do see Bam as more of a game stack bet. Again, averages about 22 points per 36. We'll take him off. Cooper Flag. Oh, what to do with Cooper Flag? I like Marshall more than him, although Cooper Flag lately has been dominating. And again, with how thin they are, with PJ Washington being out, this is a better bet. I did not like either of these ones. Cade over 9.5 assists. I did not like getting into Watson today as well. That's not to say they won't hit. Those are just ones I did look at earlier and didn't necessarily feel the need to get to. Hawkes, I do like. Let's see. Is that one even still there? And I don't know about you guys, but my prize picks and underdog dashboards, when I use them, have been a little bit slow. I don't know if that's for some reason or not. Seems like whenever I'm getting some very good bets, they just tend to stall out. So this is bumped up to 30. I still think that's a pretty good spot for us. Just a good matchup there, guys. He should get a lot of run here in this game. Assuming it stays close. He did have a kind of a cold game in the last game. I like this. I'll get to that one still. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Too many still. I mean, it's a big slate. You can't blame me for not being able to reduce these down. Again, I do like the Warriors in more of a game stack. And again, I like these two the most. Let's just go with whatever the top bet slip is. And this will be the bet of the day, guys. That'll be the official bet of the day for record keeping purposes on my end. So I can update that in the description. That's fine. We'll do that. So that'll be the bet of the day. But again, I like all these other ones. Again, I like some of the game stacking opportunities there as well. Wow. An hour and 13-minute live stream. I didn't even realize. All the trades and all the slate breakdowns. Interesting there. And my goodness. Okay. I got to call it Shams real quick. So I'm looking at a summary of the freaking Conley trade. Minnesota creates significant tax savings and a roster space as they pursue a Milwaukee star this week. I mean, he has no shame. He really doesn't. I think it'd be a stretch to call him a reporter. At this point, Shams is just a content creator. He's just a content creator that just gets paid by ESPN. I mean, just my goodness, man. Good for him sticking to the bet. I mean, it's been like a 5-year bid for Shams with Giannis trying to get Giannis out of Milwaukee. That's crazy to continue that. That's wild. Anyways, that'll do it for this live stream, guys. I was hoping we get some more trades. Those are fun to break down. But that'll do it for today's live stream. Appreciate everyone being here. Good luck with all the bets that you guys do end up placing today. I'll catch you guys on tomorrow's props betting video. I don't know if it'll be a live stream or a simple video. It really just depends on the slate. Like today was a bigger slate. I figured we'd have a lot of news happening throughout the video while I was recording, at least. So I decided to do a live stream. Appreciate the call out here. I appreciate that. Put a lot of work into the mile, so love hearing shout outs like that. But that'll do it for today's video, guys. Appreciate you being here. Good luck with all the bets that you end up placing. If you guys want access to any of the tools, make sure to head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to all the tools for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.